I'm standing outside the president's plot of Princeton University here in Princeton, New Jersey. Princeton was one of the oldest colleges in America, right up there with Harvard, Yale, the College of William and Mary, and then Princeton, originally called the College of New Jersey. It started out as the Log College of William Tennant to train preachers of the New Light Presbyterian School, those who were supporting of the revolutions going on in religion, the Great Awakening. Let's go look at some of the graves that you'll see inside. As we come into the cemetery, we'll notice some of the different markers here. One of the markers that we're going to see that's going to stand out rather large to us is that of Aaron Burr. Yes, the Aaron Burr who was involved in the duel with Alexander Hamilton that's been immortalized in the Broadway play of the same name of Hamilton. Aaron Burr's father was one of the people who helped found Princeton University, the College of New Jersey. But more importantly, there's another name that you might recognize. Right behind Aaron Burr's grave is that of Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Edwards, third president of Princeton College. Yes, the Jonathan Edwards of the Great Awakening who preached sinners in the hands of an angry God. Jonathan Edwards, who preached and promoted revival throughout the area, who was friends with George Whitefield. Jonathan Edwards, at the end of his ministry, was asked to be president, and yet he died after just a couple months of service here. But he is still buried here in the president's plot. Now, who would take over Princeton University after Jonathan Edwards? I mean, Jonathan Edwards was published on both sides of the Atlantic. If you go on some of the ancient newspapers, you can see Ben Franklin offering collection of Jonathan Edwards' sermons. There was a man who was asked to take over that gap. That man was Samuel Davies. Samuel Davies is buried here right next to Jonathan Edwards. You see Edwards' grave and then Davies. Samuel Davies was the fourth president of Princeton. Most interestingly, he was the pastor to a young youth who attended his church. You see, Samuel Davies came down from New Jersey as one of the first non-Episcopalian pastors in Virginia. Virginia had a state church. Sam Davies came down as a missionary and pled the rights of English freemen to be licensed as one of the first people to have a license that wasn't an Anglican. He went into some of the reading houses. They were so called because they didn't have non-Anglican ministers. Those who didn't agree with the Anglican Church set up reading houses to read sermons that way they could be blessed. One of them is called Pole Green, and we had the opportunity of going there with one of our tours earlier. We'll pull up some of the video and show you. Unfortunately, the Pole Green Church got destroyed during the Civil War, so you see an interesting semi-replica of what the church may have looked like. Now, Samuel Davies preached, and there was a young boy who came with his mother. The young boy's name was Patrick Henry. You know, you've heard about how great an orator that Patrick Henry was. Well, Patrick Henry said that the greatest orator that he ever heard was Samuel Davies. Samuel Davies was a powerful preacher. For 2 years, he ministered here before he too likewise passed away. Then later on, you'd see another minister that would come to take the lead of the university here in Princeton. Let's see where his tomb went. Oh yes, that's right. It's a couple down from Samuel Davies. In fact, there's a little marker here we're going to show you. And that's a revolutionary patriot. Let's see, can we see that here? Yeah, let's zoom back up. Yes. Revolutionary patriot, Reverend John Witherspoon, signer of the Declaration of Independence, and sixth president of Princeton College. He was able to lead for about 2 decades and helped really yield and bring the college to a new level. He's buried here as the ministry that he had as a pastor, as a patriot, and he was one of the people who was one of those who were signing the Declaration and many of the other founding documents. You know, we'll try to talk about him a little bit more. In fact, somewhere in this college, we're going to see if we can find the statue of Reverend Witherspoon. But this is just some of the fascinating stories that you'll hear about, and especially if you get a chance to read some of the preaching of Jonathan Edwards, Samuel Davies, or even of John Witherspoon, the influence of the academic leaders of America, those who founded these founding colleges, were men who wanted to train ministers to take the word of God throughout this country.